All right, Andy, we kind of went over the review of your swing, so now let's talk about how to go about fixing it. I put JB Holmes up here because he's probably one of the longest hitters on tour. Hits it really solid, hits a heavy ball, hits it consistent. Why he hasn't won more is a good question. But I've kind of stopped that pitcher right here at position 2. So position 2 is where the club is parallel to the ground. Position 1 is addressed. So um, what we like to see, or what I like to see, my preference is the club face leading edge matching the spine. So if we look and kind of draw a line up this club face, it's roughly 65 degrees, and you can kind of see it matches the back part of his rib cage, back part of his spine pretty close, 61, 62, somewhere in there. So let's kind of take you to that same spot and see what we got. Some guys would like the club more out in front, whatever. You go around a little bit, but so does JB, right? Because right there, club's pretty much parallel to the ground, and the club face is both at your hip high, pretty much. And club face 75, 65, so pretty close. So I stopped it there because I knew it was going to be pretty close. Good position. If we look at your arm bends here, your right arm's got about the same bend, left arm's straight just like that. The pitcher window in between his arms and his rib cage, pretty much the same. Knee action's the same. His trail leg, which would be the right leg, maybe slightly straighter, but not a big deal. So get up to the top here, and I'm going to stop it right there. So he doesn't have a lot of wrist cock, right? So that's why his club is up. And a lot of people technically probably wouldn't say it's across the line. But I would, because if we draw a line up your forearm like that, the head is to the right of it. And if I do the same thing up JB's all the way to infinity, his head is to the right of it as well. Yours is maybe more, but just because it's going down the circle more, like I explained in the review. Another big thing, like that I've been noticing with a lot of high-level players, tour players, is the butt end of the club at the top of the golf swing is typically always over the shoelaces to the ankle. So you can see his is kind of right over the front part of his shoelaces. And if we do yours, you're right over your ankle. So I would say your hands are traveling in a good position on the way back. You're getting to a good spot at the top. Yeah, it's across the line, but like I mentioned in the review, we got guys Phil Mickelson, Bubba Watson, Freddie Couples, um, just to name a few, are long and across the line. John Daly, where you are. And then you got other guys like JB Holmes, who I feel is across the line in the same position you, just not as much wrist cock. So, and I say wrist cock because you can see his knuckles on both hands, and yours you can't see the knuckles. So that's the biggest difference we see with those. Your version of cross line versus somebody else's. So what I want you to focus on here is this transition move is what we need to get a little bit better. So I want you to first watch his right elbow and right wrist. So just kind of watch his right arm. So see how his elbow's moving forward, kind of pinching his right pec a little bit. His hands aren't really doing much other than that elbow's moving forward and his right wrist is kind of getting bent back some. If we measured how far apart his elbows are here, in fact, we can do that. I'm going to draw a line elbow to elbow. And you can see it's getting closer together. So it's a little bit smaller, right? Getting smaller, getting smaller. And that's him shallowing out this club with a leftward path. So it's really a powerful move and a way to create a lot of speed, but a lot of solid contact and consistency in the ball flight. So that elbow's kind of pinching in front of that right rib cage. You can see how far it is in front of his body. I mean, right there. You can see how far left. I mean, he's 73 degrees left right there. So he's got a very leftward path with his arm motion, but then a very rightward path with that club head, because look how far it is behind his body. I mean, it's way back here still. Look at this good window, where if we watch your swing over here, that elbow stays wide, stays wide, stays wide, stays wide, stays wide, stays wide, stays wide. Still, not even in front of you, still not in front of you. Now it's basically on your side. So it's ran out of room and it can't get in front of your body. All right, so that's where your issue comes in on your consistency, is now you got to get some hands action in there, and your timing's got to be perfect. So I'm going to take JB back to position number 5 here. So 4 is the top of the backswing. 5 is where the left arm is parallel to the ground. So you can see here his hands are in the middle of his chest. Yours are on the right side of your rib cage. His elbow is already cleared and got into the front of his rib cage and kind of almost his belly button. Yours is still behind the rib cage and kind of stuck. You're not stuck, but it's just behind you more than it is with JB. So because of that, that's like I said, you're going to get that rightward motion, and that's also why you start to stand up, because that's what you're doing. You're coming up out of the shot to get the club more in front of you and down into the ball. So you can see how far out in front of him his hands are. Club's parallel to the ground there. I'll say that's parallel to the ground there. So like I said in the review, this would be key number 3 lesson, inline impact condition. But as you've seen here, I've been talking a lot of the sweet spot path, which is key number 4, which is probably, truth be told, probably what I would call this lesson. Obviously, any key before that 1, 2, or 3 would improve the more that this got better. But you can see this position. I mean, this is powerful. He's got so much energy built up in this right wrist. You can see how bent back it is. This is going to explode down into the golf ball. And you can see it does. I mean, he's just starting to kind of take that back of that left hand, throwing the right palm at the golf ball. And you can see how far left he exits now. And that's it. Allows him to stay underneath the shot. See how bent he is, and his left butt cheek is behind his heels. Where yours, you can see, is just kind of falling down in the ball, moving a lot slower. Your left butt cheek is target line compared to your right one. And you're just kind of standing up out of it. And that's just all to protect you from hitting behind the ball. So you have some of the same mistakes I've got, and it's typically what better players do. They kind of know they have the ability to over-control the club, and so they do so. So what I would suggest doing for you, and what would be a good thing to work on, is when you're here hitting balls like this, right, is take that bag stand and put it behind you so that your butt is on it. So, and I would like to see it probably like we talked about. You can even see it with JB. If we go back to the address position here, he's 8-10 inches behind it, and you're closer to a foot or so. So stick that bag stand somewhere in that 6, 8, 10 inches behind your heels so that your butt's touching it. And you're going to want to keep your butt on it. So as you start down, I want you to work your hands, feel like they work out towards the target line. So if I drew a target line straight up this golf ball, so that would be where we're aiming, let's say, I want you to feel like your hands right from here at the top, they work to here, downswing, through swing, going that way. That's exaggerated, but I want you to feel like they work, instead of being pulled down, I want you to feel like you pull them without moving your shoulders towards target line. So that butt end of the club gets all the way out towards the target line more and gets this elbow in front of you. Like right here, your hands should be somewhere in that ballpark. This elbow should be up in here looking like that already. So you just need to get things working further towards the target so that they can snap the club into it and then work left more instead of dropping down like this, and then you're going to have to roll. So that's why from the face on we get that cupping action, is because you're just scooping it because it's so far behind you and you're just trying to throw it in front of you. So once again, if we watch this motion here, down, so he's pulling that elbow, that right elbow's leading, his hands are working down and towards the target, and then now they're going to start going left. Back up to the top, watch it again. So instead of his hands, they go straight down just a little bit, but now you can see they're being pulled towards the golf ball, towards target, and now it's going to start working away from that line. See that snap? That snap. That's a whole lot of power. So just kind of keep watching this little move that he does at the top over and over and over and over and over. And just think about it in regards of, throwing a football, right? If you were to throw a football from the top, the first thing you would do is start to pinch that elbow and try to get it in front of your hand, right? That's what's going to create that throw. Obviously, we can't do that totally here in golf, but that elbow's going to lead, right? Just like throwing a football. The elbow's going to lead where your motion from the top is your elbow trails. So you can see it's not even moving towards the target line at all. It's staying behind. So it's like you're almost shot putting the club. Still behind. Now it's starting to it's going to be behind, but at least starting to move towards target. So just feel like you kind of lead from the top with the right elbow. It's going to feel like you're coming over the top, but what it's going to do is you're going to get a leftward path with your arms, but a rightward path with the club, which is going to be a lot more powerful and a lot more consistent. So work on that. Let me know, and I'll send you some other drills and videos that I think may help with this as I come across them. But that's what I'd work on. I'd work on that transition at the top and kind of get that right elbow leading a little bit more, and you'll be a lot more consistent.